Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Coach Lewis, and my goal, of course, is to help you climb that mental mountain that you've been struggling to climb by yourself. I'm going to give you the tools, the tips, the tactics that you're going to be able to use in order to move forward and make your big dreams come true. So let's get right into it. Now, this is for my deep thinkers. I want to ask you this question because this is a question that occurred to me last week. So I've had quite a bit of time to think about it, process it, and it was mind-blowing what I realized as I looked back on my life and I saw the examples of this, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions right now. Do you feel like you have this feeling of deja vu a lot in your lifetime right now? Can you remember those different times? Do you feel like you're just running through the same crap over and over again? Same stuff, different location, different physical appearance, but it feels exactly the same. Do you feel like you're just following the specific pattern and you don't have any way to break out of it? It sounds like you're in the Matrix, like the movie, like what Andrew Tate talks about. But it's real, I think. It's not really about government or a man trying to hold you down or anything like that I'm talking about. I'm talking about how you hold yourself back, how you constantly put yourself in the same exact situations, just in different forms, only to feel exactly the same, only to reinforce the same beliefs that are limiting you, and then you get the same exact results. You feel those emotions that you feel, whatever they be. So last week I was doing some soul searching, I would call it, but I was meditating, and I finished this one meditation, and this thought occurred to me. My life, certain parts of it, have played out in an endless loop. And the part that always seemed to play out for me like this loop is weird, Every single time I got a job, certain things would show up in this job exactly the same over and over again, no matter what job I went to. Every single job I had, I would always have a boss who was eccentric to the point where they were hard to deal with, hard to tolerate for most people. They would always make me the favorite in whatever situation they were dealing with, while they went and berated other employees around me. It was so freaking weird. And I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't realize that, but at many different stages in my life that occurred. I'll give you one example. My first job in high school, when my father rolled out and I had to start supporting the household to help my mom make ends meet, was a night shift job at McDonald's. And there was a supervisor there, the first supervisor I'd ever had in my entire life. And boy, was that a first impression for your ass right there. Her name was Vicky, and she was definitely older, maybe 40s, 50s. And she had these weird quirks, like she would just say random stuff. No, she didn't have Tourette's or anything like that. She would just say random off the wall stuff. She would micromanage everybody, basically get on everybody's nerves, and she would have these big, thick glasses, these weird looking teeth, and this weird energy that you just don't want around you, And so that was my first boss. And like I said, the loop would play out where that boss would somehow I become the favorite in the group. So when the boss is going after people, I'm usually not on that list, but that doesn't make me feel good about it, I did not like it at all. But she would walk around saying off the wall stuff to other employees, nitpicking little things that they're doing, trying to make them feel like crap. There would always be arguments, always be fights between her and her employees. And we were working night shifts, so you're tired. You've gone through a full day of high school and you got to deal with and listen to and feel the energy of that, like I did. So what that culminated in, of course, was employees filing complaints against her for, disrespecting people left and right, just not being a good boss overall, and she would end up getting fired. So that's basically the loop that I have. Now, I show up in different jobs later on, like a job I had in the military working under a civilian. Same deal. An eccentric boss who did the exact same thing. Would berate employees in front of me, would set me aside as if I was a favorite. And I ended up starting an investigation that got her fired or got her transferred, whatever they do. And it just kept playing out and playing out. Now, what I had to do last week was sit down and ask myself this question after I discovered this loop that kept playing out. Why? Why is it playing out? And the only answer I could come up with is because I always stayed longer than I should have. Like the McDonald's job, I stayed in that job for 2 years. Literally 2 years. I had already graduated high school and I still worked there for a while, when I knew that the logical next step for me was either going to be to try to get into college, which I did, but it was too damn expensive, or join the military, which I did as well. And I did 6 years afterwards once I realized that was the right step to make. And so it's kind of like that loop shows up in my life at different points, and it's a sign from whoever you believe in that it's time to make a different choice. It's time to do something other than what you would usually do, or it's time to move on to the next step. And you get that feeling of deja vu. You get the feeling because the energy is the same. The people in this loop that you're in are the same, so you get that feeling. I'm telling you this because maybe you can vibe with that. You probably have situations in your life that if you start from where you're at right now and look back all the way to your childhood and come forward, the same thing plays out. Even if it's not the crazy boss, maybe you have a crazy parent too, and then that rolled into a crazy boss, and then that rolled into the next, and this loop just keeps playing out. But once you realize that that's what's going on, the fun begins, because you can try to break yourself out of it, which is what I'm realizing. Whenever those signs start to show up, that means it's a time for me to jump forward, to look for the next step, figure out what's exciting to me and move towards that. Because my usual habit is to do what? Is to sit in it longer, much, much longer. One job I should have left after a year. Guess how long I stayed? 4 years. I didn't even try to move to the next job. For all intents and purposes though, in that place I met my wife, so I had every reason to want to stay there longer. We've been married for a long time now, so that was a good choice. But I digress. The real thing I want you to look at is those different loops in your life and figure out which ones are not serving you. That loop would have served me if I got the message right. Move on. Take a next step. Do something different. Take a risk. Look for another challenge. It's time to grow. If I would have looked at it that way. What loops have been playing out in your life? Be it the same partners. Maybe you're looking for the same exact relationships or business. You're going for the same exact types of ventures all the time that say you're going to get rich quick, and they seem exciting in the beginning, and you finally get down to the nuts and bolts and there's really nothing there, but you still keep sticking with it because you see other people might be winning in that when you don't feel like it aligns for you. How is that playing out in your careers? What about your workouts in the gym? Getting in shape, getting your health right, getting your mindset right, because that's what this channel is all about, isn't it? How are these different loops helping you or holding you back? And now the next question, what can you do to break out of it? And I'll give you a tip on how to do that. And it's simply to ask yourself, what is it that I usually always do? And then do the opposite of that, or do something different than that. What do I usually do to keep this loop going? Because the choice is yours, whether you stay in it or not. I could have chosen not to go for those same types of jobs that I go for. I could have chosen to leave once I realized it's a messed up boss, but I always chose to stay in it. Stay in it, keep torturing myself. So hope this YouTube video gets you some value, because like I've always said, gonna drop one every single day. This was just something I was thinking about, and I wanted to share it with you. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because I really don't want you to miss what's coming next.